Have you ever felt guilty for being happy? You are successful, you are independent, you can buy yourself expensive things. But deep down inside, every time you enjoy life, a whisper echoes, "How dare I be happy when my mother has suffered her whole life?" We often praise a mother's sacrifice as a monument, but in psychology, sometimes that monument casts a shadow too large, crushing the child growing up at its feet. If you grew up with a mother who was always resigned, enduring a short-tempered or heartless father, and you, that child, vowed to become strong to protect her, then this video is for you. Welcome back to House of Noor. I am Noor, and today we will enter a very sensitive but necessary realm of shadow work, which is the burden of love. We will decode the mechanism of parentification, which turned your mother's sacrifice into an invisible chain binding your life. And most importantly, your maturity was never the problem. The problem is you didn't have a choice. Now, you have the right to choose softness and rest. Let me share a bit of my own story, or rather, about the trembling child inside of me. I grew up in a house where the concept of peace was a luxury. My childhood was not measured by happy memories of play, but measured by the alcohol level in my father's breath. My father, he was a man swallowed by the demon of alcohol. His temper was like a ticking time bomb. No one knew when it would explode, but everyone knew for sure it would. Family dinners that were supposed to be gatherings, but for me, they were a battlefield. The sound of dishes crashing against the cold, tiled floor, vulgar curses tearing through the space, and the suppressed sighs of the children, all of it became the background music for my growing up. And in the eye of that storm was my mother, a woman so diligent, so resigned, it was heartbreaking. She didn't fight back, she only endured. She gathered the broken shards, just as she tried to gather the last bits of the family's dignity. But what haunted me the most was not my father's shouting, but my mother's whisper after every beating or argument. She would often hug me, tears soaking my shirt, and say that fateful mantra, "I don't leave your father. I endure it all for you children. I live for you." Sound familiar? That phrase, "for you." At first glance, it is the pinnacle of sacred motherly love. But to the immature mind of a child, it is not love. It is a sentence. At that very moment, my childhood world collapsed. I no longer had the right to be a carefree child. That sentence unintentionally turned me into the cause of my mother's suffering. It installed in my subconscious a terrifyingly false belief. Mom's safety, mom's happiness, even mom's life lies in my hands. If I am bad, mom will suffer. If I am not successful, mom's sacrifice is meaningless. That was when I learned to hold my breath, to keep mom happy, learned to become an adult to protect mom, and learned to bury my own self. That is the exact moment the mechanism of parentification is activated, marking the inversion of a family's natural order. You are no longer a child allowed to be innocent, allowed to make mistakes, or be weak. You are forced to mature early, becoming the emotional spouse of your own mother. Psychologist Carl Jung left a shocking statement. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their children than the unlived life of the parent. When your mother refuses to live her own life, refuses to face and heal her personal traumas, she does not make them disappear. She unintentionally, but cruelly, transfers that burden onto your fragile shoulders. You are not just a child, you become a container for her anxieties, sorrows, and unfinished dreams. Subconsciously, you learned a painful lesson. My needs are secondary. Mom's pain is the center. My existence only has meaning when I make Mom happy. Or at least, do not make Mom sadder. You have to be very good, very well behaved, very successful, not because you want to be, but to compensate for the misfortunes that Mom has endured. From that arid soil of having to shoulder emotions too early, hyperindependence sprouted as a cruel survival mechanism. This is not the healthy independence of a confident adult. This is a trauma response. You build a fortified wall around yourself with two core fears as the foundation. 1. The fear of burdening. You are afraid of bothering others to an extreme. Why? From the remnants of parentification, your mind forms an extreme defense mechanism, the fear of burdening. This is not merely politeness or humility. It is a psychological obsession that makes you eliminate your own need for help. This fear is fed by two powerful undercurrents. First is the empathy born from pain, traumatic empathy. Because you spent your whole childhood shouldering your mother's chaotic emotional world, you understand deeply and painfully what it feels like to be weighed down. You remember clearly the exhaustion of having to listen, having to soothe, having to be the adult when you were still so small. Because you know how terrible that weight is, you develop a reverse reaction. You would rather die than let anyone, especially those you love, taste the suffocating feeling you once endured. You turn yourself into an isolated island, not because you don't need anyone, but because you don't want to become a burden in someone else's life. Second is the distortion in your belief system about love. Subconsciously, you do not believe that you deserve unconditional love. Years of having to be good, to be capable, to compensate for Mom taught you that. Love is an exchange. You are only accepted when you are useful, strong, and not troublesome. If you reveal weakness, if you voice a request for help, you believe you will immediately become a nuisance, and the inevitable result will be rejection. Therefore, you choose to swallow every broken piece back inside on your own. The catchphrases, "I'm fine," "I can do it myself," become an unconditional reflex shield, hiding the truth that inside that hard shell is a soul exhausted from holding itself for too long. 2. The fear of vulnerability, when emotion is equated with danger. If the fear of bothering others is the outer shell, then the fear of vulnerability is the reinforced concrete block inside your soul. You develop a severe allergy to sentimentality, not only in others, but most cruelly with yourself. The source of this fear stems from chaotic memories of the past. In the eyes of the child from years ago, Mom's weakness, the weeping fits, the indecisiveness, or letting emotions override reason, was never gentleness. On the contrary, it was the source of instability. You witnessed how that weakness drained the family's energy, creating emotional storms that you had to step up and clean up. Thus, in your subconscious formed a dangerous equation. Weakness equals suffering and loss of control. To survive amidst that chaos, you established a harsh mechanism of denial. You swore to yourself to become the exact opposite version of Mom. If Mom is tears, you must be stone. If Mom is dependent, you must be a pine tree standing alone in the sky. You view having to ask for help, shedding a tear, or admitting, "I am exhausted," as a shameful failure, a stain on your perfect resume. It is from those two fears that hyperindependence molded you into an invincible warrior in the eyes of the world. You solve every crisis with amazing calmness. You are a solid support for anyone who needs it. But ironically, behind that shining armor is an utterly lonely child. You refuse help, not because you truly don't need it, but because of a more painful truth. You do not believe that there is anyone in this world safe enough for you to lean on without collapsing. You fear that if you fall, no one will catch you, or worse, they will see the brokenness you have hidden for so long. You have spent half your life learning to take care of the whole world, mastering the art of parenting your own parents, but tragically forgot the most basic thing: how to allow the world to take care of you. From the fragments of a childhood burdened with too much, hyperindependence was born not as a virtue, but as a harsh survival mechanism. You fear bothering others because your shoulders still bear the scars of carrying your mother's entire emotional world. You fear weakness because memory taught you that sentimentality of mom is the source of all tragedy. So, what form will that child take when they grow up? The answer is you today, the high-functioning adults. On the outside, you are the model of success, resourcefulness, able to handle everything. But deep inside is a soul rotting from exhaustion. Behind that strong exterior are 3 painful psychological after-effects you silently carry. 1. Unconscious loyalty to suffering. This is the invisible chain binding you to the past. You carry within an irrational complex, feeling guilty when your life is better than mom's. When joy knocks, instead of accepting it, you unconsciously seek ways to self-sabotage. You ruin good relationships. You refuse promotion opportunities, or simply, you do not allow yourself to fully enjoy happiness. Why? Because in the deep subconscious, the inner child believes, for me to be happy and radiant while mom is still drowning in suffering is a cruel betrayal. You choose unhappiness to feel like you belong, to maintain the painful connection with your mother. 2. Hypervigilance, when peace is a trap. Your nervous system has never truly left the battlefield. It is permanently stuck in fight-or-flight mode. In the past, your radar had to be stretched to hear the stumbling footsteps of a drunk father, to guess if mom was sad or happy to navigate your behavior. Today, that mechanism still runs in the background. You become an expert in micro-reading. A frown from your boss, an unusual silence from your partner, or a slight change in a colleague's voice is enough to make you extremely anxious. You cannot rest because for you, silence does not mean safety. Silence is just the terrifying calm before a storm strikes. Resting means lowering the shield, and lowering the shield means death. 3. The repetition compulsion. The most heartbreaking tragedy. You hate your father's heartlessness or violence. You swore never to follow in those footsteps. But ironically, your heart is unconsciously drawn towards men who need fixing. You find yourself attracted to people with erratic personalities, who are emotionally unavailable or carry deep emotional wounds. Why do you rush into the fire? Not because you like suffering, but because your subconscious is trying to complete an unfinished mission from childhood, the rescue effort. You love them with the naive hope that this time will be different. This time, I am strong enough to change them. This time, I will save them. Something I couldn't do for mom in the past. You seek a new ending for an old story, but in the end, you only receive the familiar hurt. Hyperindependence at this point reveals itself as a heavy suit of iron armor. It once saved your life in the wartime of your family years ago, helping you survive the stormy days. But now, in the peacetime of your current life, it is suffocating you. It prevents you from receiving true love, a love that is pure, gentle, where you are allowed to be weak without judgment, allowed to receive without having to sacrifice or shoulder anything in exchange. Now, take a deep breath. Let your chest expand, the place that has been compressed by nameless anxieties for so many years. We have seen how the armor of hyperindependence is weighing you down. Now, it is time to do the bravest thing you have ever avoided: shadow work, working with the dark side of the soul. To heal this wound, you cannot just put a Band-Aid on the surface. You must operate at the root. And the first truth, also the hardest truth to swallow, that you must admit you have the right to be angry at Mom. I know, hearing this feels guilty. Your mother is a victim. She sacrificed everything. But look deeper. That noble sacrifice of Mom, heartbreakingly, is also her inability to protect personal boundaries. When Mom couldn't stand on her own, she, unconsciously, turned her child into a crutch. The inner child inside you is screaming, not because it hates Mom, but because it is angry at being robbed of childhood, forced to shoulder the responsibilities of an adult when its hands were still too small. Here is a ritual for you to release that child. Step 1. Witnessing. Close your eyes. Let your mind drift back to the past. Find the image of the 5-year-old, 7-year-old, or 10-year-old child within you. Look at where that child is standing. Is it standing in front of Mom, spreading tiny arms to shield the woman who was supposed to shield it? Is it holding its breath, swallowing tears to appear mature? Don't turn away. Step forward, kneel down to the child's eye level, and say, "You did very well. You were incredibly brave. But listen, this is not your job. This bag of luggage is too heavy and oversized for these shoulders. You don't need to tense up anymore." Step 2. Returning the burden. This is a profound spiritual ritual to reestablish order. Imagine you are gathering all the anxieties, the resignation, the fear of Dad, the pity for Mom, and the responsibility of saving the family into a heavy package. You have carried it on your back for decades. Now, in your mind, stand facing the image of your mother. Respectfully, reverently, but firmly, take that package down. Place it back into Mom's hands. Say to her, with all compassion, "Mom, I love you more than anything. But these pains, this fate, and this marriage are your choices, your own lessons. I ask to return them to you. I am just your child. I am smaller than you. I cannot be your husband. I cannot be your savior. I ask for your permission, Mom, to let me live my own life." This is absolutely not unfilial or abandonment. This is establishing the orders of love. Nature dictates that water must flow from upstream to downstream. Parents give and children receive. When you try to flow upstream to nurture or save your parents, you are going against natural law, and the price to pay is your own exhaustion. Step 3. Self-rescuing. Instead of continuing to pour hopeless energy into trying to change the past or save Mom, recall all that energy to save yourself. It is time you gave yourself the things you craved in the past, but no one gave: softness, the right to rest, and the right to be weak. If you feel tired, allow yourself to lie down. If you want to cry, cry out loud like a child. No need to hold back. Tell your stressed nervous system, the war is over. We are safe. No need to stand guard anymore. The journey of emotional separation from Mom's pain does not happen overnight. It requires extraordinary courage, the courage to dare to be happier than the person who gave birth to you. Don't let guilt deceive you. The greatest gift of filial piety you can give Mom is not to drown in the swamp of suffering with her, so she is less lonely. The greatest gift is to let her see you happy, free, and radiant. Live to prove that this lineage of suffering ends with me. Generational traumas will stop here. From me onwards, the legacy left behind will be happiness, peace, and freedom. And I am Noor. Thank you for listening and bravely facing your darkness. Don't forget to subscribe to the House of Noor channel to go deeper with me into healing psychology. Remember, you are not broken, you are becoming whole. See you in the next video.